Move on, and first there was the Terminator.
I'll be back.
Now Australia has the Vaxinator. He's Navy Commander Eric Young, the military man tasked with rescuing the nation's jab rollout and saving us from the pandemic. There he is there, a real man. So no pressure. Matt, hard to fire a gun without bullets though, isn't it?
Well, Karl, this is a logistical exercise now. It shouldn't be a political exercise. We've just got to get the vaccine rolled out as quickly as possible. And I think someone with his experience is good at logistics. The Navy are good at logistics. So he's the kind of person we need. I think there will continue to be hurdles and hiccups. This is a massive exercise. Not all of it's under our control. But the important thing is that when we do reach those hurdles, we knuckle down and fix them and get things done. I'm confident in a year's time we'll look back and with a lot of success about how the program's gone, and the brouhaha we're kind of seeing at the moment will be a bit like what we saw before the Sydney Olympics. Everyone was complaining, and then after the event we thought, how great was that? I reckon we'll get there.
The problem is that the Health Minister, Greg Hunt's trumpeting around like there's been some sort of monumental achievement. There are 38 million vaccines to go and we don't have the supply.
We will get the supply though, Karl. We will get the supply. I mean, compare it to where we are now to where we were 6 months ago, where there were no vaccines. And no, there was quite a few people who were sceptical whether there ever would be one. We now have multiple vaccines. Production is ramping up around the world. Yes, there has been restrictions on exports, some issues with AstraZeneca, but we will get through these things. And it's right and proper that people scrutinise this stuff. But as I say, this is now not a political exercise. This is just about logistics. Let's get it done.
He looks like a can-do guy, Eric Young, the Navy Commander.
He sure does.
Not going to be messing with him.
Not at all. And I think we did
Overdue?
Overdue, absolutely. And I think the fact that we handled everything else so well, we just thought the vaccine rollout would roll out just as easily as that, and that gave us hope and it gave us understanding that we'd be able to nail it. But we've fumbled it, haven't we? But now, looks like we've got the right guy. We should have been probably onto him right from the start.
Yeah, well, if Eric Young asked you to do 20, you'd be doing 40.
I'm doing 30, yeah.
At least trying.
Yeah.
This morning we're also learning about Scott Morrison's plan to spend an extra $500 million on new clean energy projects with the aim of reducing greenhouse emissions ahead of a potentially embarrassing meet-up with the US president. Matt, can you hear that, my friend? It's wind turbines and zero emissions and the sound of the PM jamming the National Party on mining.
Yeah. Well, Karl, I like the old saying, mate, that when something sounds too good to be true, it normally is. We have thousands of jobs in this country that rely on industries that, yes, do release carbon emissions, and that is not changing anytime soon. As I said yesterday, trying to think otherwise is like the 10-year-old kid who gets up on his parents' roof, thinks he's Superman and jumps off. Well, he doesn't have the technology and he falls flat on his face. And we don't have these technologies, and they're not coming anytime soon. And so I agree with what the Prime Minister said last year, that until we can map out a way to get to net zero carbon emissions, we shouldn't commit to it. And we don't have that way yet. Well, I welcome these investments, but they're a long way off potentially in delivering the massive changes we need to get to net zero emissions and protect jobs in this country.
So what you're saying is the Prime Minister is like Superman this morning, except he can't fly.
Well, I think that's the policy that's being put forward about net zero emissions is exactly that. It's wishful thinking on steroids, where I think what we need right now is practical and realistic thinking, because the only people that win out of us adopting net zero emissions right now is the Chinese Communist Party, because China's not going to commit to it. China's not going to, well, they committed to it, but they're not going to do it. And if we just hamstring our own industry and jobs here in this country, it'll just benefit the aggression and bullying we're seeing from China.
Look, there are a lot of big companies, Gus, like Twiggy's, who are doing their own bit anyway, moving towards pumped hydro, zero-emission heavy vehicles. There seems to be a traction towards it. The change is coming, but at what cost to traditional industries here in Australia?
Yeah, exactly right. And it's going to take so long to get there. So I like the fact that we're committing to it, but is everyone else committing to it and are actually going to do it? Yeah. I find sometimes we end up doing the stuff, but bigger companies or countries aren't doing it. And we end up sort of doing our bit and they don't do their bit. So, and whatever Twiggy says, you know, Twiggy's pretty good, pretty successful cat He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he does. Xi Jinping apparently has been holding these big 6-month courses on climate change as well. If you go there, you sort of disappear for 6 months.
Oh.
But you come back, but you're right on board with climate change.
I bet.
Well, I'm not going there, Karl. You go. You go first.
I'm not going there either. I don't know. I don't know why I tried. Anyway, let's
Nice to know you.
Yes, let's take a look at these images this morning. They were created by Year 5 and Year 6 students at a school in Sydney, prompting the State Education Minister to order a full investigation into political activism in the classroom. Look, the first one of those images is pretty horrendous. Stop killer cops. I mean, how that gets into a classroom, I don't know. Matt, your reaction?
Mate, I'm sick and tired of some teachers, teachers using public-funded education institutions as some kind of Marxist training grounds. This sort of rubbish should not be fed to our kids. It corrupts their minds. And worse, it's the sin here is exactly what they're apparently trying to campaign against. Calling all cops killers, effectively, is just prejudice. And it has no place in our schools. And I agree completely with the New South Wales education authorities that if this is proven true, there must be disciplinary action here. There must be a cost.
Gus, you know, as Matt said, you get what some teachers are trying to achieve here, but that kind of thing is crossing the line.
Oh, of course it is, you know, and I agree totally with Matt that there should be discipline against those teachers, the headmaster, the whole bit. You know, that's an absolute disgrace.
OK, I've been worried about Matt all morning, as you know, only too well. I think obviously the Prime Minister, a.k.a. Superman, is going to jam him on climate change, like Xi Jinping. But this morning I'm more worried about his heart and potentially his broken heart when he was a young kid growing up, you know, with horses in Rockhampton or whatever he was doing. Scientists at Melbourne's Monash University have found a drug normally used to treat cancer can actually heal the damage from heart disease. Matt, can you take me back to those halcyon days in central Queensland when your heart was broken by someone? Do you remember the pain?
Well, Karl actually grew up in Logan, south of Brisbane, and I suppose the only thing I wanted to do as a young kid was play cricket for Australia, and you know, I think that's long gone, unfortunately. I had my hopes up when Sandpaper Gate hit. I thought they might need some help, but I'm gone, I think. So my heart has been broken there, and maybe I'll line up for these drugs.
Okay.
I tell you what, my heart was broken too when I played Michael Slater and the War Brothers in a game of cricket and realised, oh, they're the guys that are going to play for Australia. And Jackie Masters, Marianne Husson.
You remember the names?
Sarah Hornery.
You remember the names?
Oh,
naming and shaming.
I remember everything.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, girls, look what you've missed out on, eh? Just look at what you missed out on. 120 kilo of pure Aussie meat.
Just beautiful.
Thanks, Karl.
You're a beautiful man.
Can we have a cuddle?
No, don't break.
Sorry.
Don't let those people break you.
I'm going to soldier on.
I would never name and shame, but Shannon Newman's.
Oh, Shannon.
Gee, she broke my heart in Year 7.
Yeah.